Episode 59 of the Thunder Underground podcast is here. My name is Trent, and I'm joined by Jason.
Hello, hello.
Hello. As you can tell, my voice is still a little out of it like it was last episode, but yours was a little out of it last time, and you seem better, so good for you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'm better. You're not. What happened?
I don't know. I had a relapse, or whatever they call it.
A relapse?
No, in medical terms.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hang in there.
Yeah.
It's only going to get better, Trent.
I'm starting to feel a little better. I still just sound like I don't.
Well, you'll get there. You'll get there.
Yeah, hopefully by the next time we record something.
Yeah, by the 60. It's a big one.
Yeah, there you go. Well, this episode features William Fish. We've been talking about this the last couple episodes, that this one was coming. Yep. Finally here.
It's time.
Yeah. Excited to bring this to you. William was the drummer for Framing the Red for about a year and a half.
Yeah. And
the most impressive part of that is the fact that he's not even 18 yet. And he spent almost 2 years in a nationally touring band.
Yeah.
That, has success under their belt. And it's just, I can't, I know we're going to talk about it here in a minute, but I just can't say enough about how impressed I am with this guy and how much he's done and all he's got, that's coming out in the future and all this. It just seems way more than we were doing when we were 17.
No shit. I mean, it speaks to his talent and, it speaks to his drive, really. Like you said, I wasn't this driven when I was 17.
Right.
I'm not this driven now.
Right.
I'll be honest. So, I mean, it's really cool that, to see this kind of thing going on. So, we had a good talk with him, and we're going to get into it here in a little bit.
Yeah. We're also going to play a song that he's got.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we want to play a song from another band out of Iowa.
Burlington, Iowa.
Right. They're called Cotton the Crypt, and this song is called The Truth.
Hell, I got paid, now you know. Now let me carry from the place to hide, running away. The beast that's inside me. I know I'm just crazy, but I know I'm alive. And how you insane? You seem to take refuge from this beast that's among you. There's no place to hide, and now you know it's true.
The Truth from Cotton the Crypt out of Burlington, Iowa. This is pretty badass. I love it's got it, it's got the sound of the radio hard rock and metal, but there's nothing about it that is cookie cutter or stereotypical like a lot of that stuff tends to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few factors here that set it apart in a good way. One, obviously, I think, is the vocals.
Yeah.
They're higher pitched than a lot of this stuff that you hear, in mainstream rock right now. A lot of people are grunting and being low, and, these vocals here, they get gruff and there's some good screams, but there's also, it's good, clear, it's unique and it sets it apart.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Like you said, unique, you don't hear this kind of style and this style of music a lot, like you said, and it's got, told you earlier, it reminds me a little of Kevin Martin from Candlebox at times.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel a like a higher pitched Miles Kennedy thing going on every now and then.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
And I like the drums on this song. Just pretty busy, but never too busy. And there's a great solo. I mean, it's pretty killer track.
Yeah, and some really cool guitar stuff going on as well. That's not typical as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, check these guys out. Cotton the Crypt. They're on Facebook. They've got videos up for these on YouTube. Find them on Spotify. Hit them up on there. Follow them, like them. Support these guys. Another great independent band. This one's out of Iowa, just like our guest this week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, before we get into this talk about William Fish, we wanted to talk about Lynch Mob.
Yes.
Which I know is seems kind of random, but we actually saw Lynch Mob a couple nights ago in Tulsa. They played a car show.
Yeah.
Which is kind of odd. I haven't seen a band at a car show in probably 20 years.
No kidding.
And normally then it's just some cover band or something. But they played M3. For those who don't know, that's a major festival that happens every year up in
Maryland.
Baltimore. Yeah, Maryland. Yeah. Where it's all glam and 80s rock. And, it's like a 2-day festival similar to how Rocklahoma started out. And Lynch Mob played that on Friday afternoon or evening. And then they got up at like 6 in the morning and flew. They said they took 2 different flights, I guess, to get here.
Yeah.
And they played this show Saturday evening in Tulsa. So, glad they did it, because I haven't seen them in a few years.
Yeah.
And I know you haven't seen them in a long time.
I haven't seen them since the Pavilion in, 93 with Warrant.
Wow. And that was with Robert Mason singing.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Yes, it was. I felt, grateful. I was I felt lucky that they got up at 6 in the frickin' morning and, it seems like they were pretty rushed, but they made it. And, for me, this is way more up your alley. I never glommed onto George Lynch and Dokken and Lynch Mob as much as you did. I'll straight up tell you right now, I really don't like Dokken at all.
Yeah.
And not because nothing negative. It's just, I could never get into them. But I always knew of, and always recognized how great George Lynch is, how great of a player he is. And, I had the album with Robert Mason. I had that album back in the day. But I just never fully got on board. But, kind of like what I told you last night, what else are we going to do on a Saturday night? Why not? And it ended up being way better than I expected and thought, and really ended up having a great time, We were right up front, and it sounded good. And George Lynch is just, fuck, man, that guy can play. I mean, I knew he could play, but damn, that guy can play.
Yeah. And Oni Logan as well, sounds phenomenal live.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He still sounds like he did on the first Lynch Mob album in 1990.
Yep.
And, of course, on their live shows, they don't play anything from that album with Robert Mason or any of that stuff, but they stick basically with the first album, then some new stuff. And, they're a band that they've done a lot different than a lot of bands from that era, where since Oni Logan came back, like, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 years ago, they've put out like 5 albums.
Yeah.
A couple EPs and 2 full albums.
Yeah, I was looking some. They've got all kinds of videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
The stuff they're doing now is killer.
Yeah, all of it is, just like the early stuff. That blues-driven, really heavy, evil rock and roll. And they all do it great. And, even live, Sean McNabb. I always followed bands that he's been in, but I never realized how exceptional he was until I was watching him last night live.
Oh, that guy was a monster. I was like, fuck, I didn't know he could do all this.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was nuts, man. It was great.
Yeah.
And he was on Sons of Anarchy, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
I had to get that in there. Sorry.
Yeah. It's all good. Well, like I said, all their new stuff's good. Their newest album, Rebel, is great. They had one, Red Sun Rising, I think is what it's, or no, that's the name of a band. It's something like that. Last year, they're pumping out new stuff every other year. And, there was a long period before that they, he was doing different stuff. Like he put out an album, had Robert Mason come back. You remember that? And it was called Re-Evolution.
I think, yeah, I remember
and they
that,
re-recorded a lot of the stuff from the first album and a lot of Dawkins songs.
Yeah.
Which, being a huge fan of Robert Mason, I loved it because it was cool hearing those Dawkins songs with his voice.
Yeah.
You'd probably dig that.
I'd probably like it way better.
Yeah. But I didn't really get into the stuff from Wicked Sensation with him singing, just because I love Oni Logan so much. I love both those guys.
Yeah.
But, so when I think of Lynch Mob, though, I think of Oni Logan, not Robert Mason.
Okay.
But,
Oh, yeah.
as you know, I'm a huge fan of him as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Let me ask you this. What did you think of Lynch Mob's nu metal era?
I listened to it once.
Yeah?
And I don't really... It's been way back then, and I remember thinking it was kind of dumb, that they were doing that, but I... Like, whatever. But I honestly can't...
When you like a band, you follow them no matter what.
I can't really remember if I loved it or didn't like it, but... So it must have just been something that just...
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think...
It didn't strike me either way, so, since it didn't resonate in my mind, I guess.
Well, I think they're back doing, what they should be doing. We know that for sure.
Yeah. All this new stuff's just that same solid, like I already said.
Yeah. And going back to the show, we kind of wondered how the turnout would be.
Right.
And it was pretty sporadic, from that that opening band, and but as we were walking around, we'd see some metal shirts, and we knew.
Yeah.
And then once they hit, I mean, there's a pretty good gaggle of people up front.
Yeah.
It was enough for them to get some energy off of. So.
Yeah.
And they seemed to be happy about it, so it was great.
Yeah, and you could tell everybody was there.
Oh, yeah.
Because they knew
people knew the fucking words.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, they played some Dawkins songs, and they got a big reaction, and
yeah,
it's always great to hear Mr. Scary.
That was nuts.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because that's even whenever Sean McNabb had a lengthy bass solo as well, leading up to George Lynch going into Mr. Scary. And... and that's the other thing I wanted to point out. I saw him, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago in Oklahoma City, and then at Rocklahoma one time. But I think that the Dawkins songs that they choose to play are really fitting with Lynch Mob, because they pick the heavier, groovier stuff, like Heaven Comes Down and The Hunter, which aren't your typical huge hits, but they're like the better Dawkins songs. And of course, Tooth and Nail is like probably my favorite Dawkins song. Yeah. And Into the Fire is probably the biggest hit they played.
Yeah.
And, so it's, I like that they're not just pulling out, Breaking the Chains or It's Not Love or Alone Again just to get a crowd reaction.
Yeah. I was very happy that I did not hear Breaking the Chains.
All right. Well, like we said earlier, we've got a song we want to play.
Yeah.
It's actually a demo track that Will recorded with Kenny Dresden as the singer, and he's going to be on this whole EP that he's putting out pretty soon called Choices. And he's recorded some demo stuff in his home, but he said he's going to re-record everything in studio for this album he's got coming out. But he sent us this demo track for us to play, and this is called Substance.
Turning blue skies to black, I promised I'd never look back on a new ride, and you're the first in line, simply unsatisfied when you run and hide. Promise you'll never look away, your eyes are looking strange. What have you done? Look at what you've become. This isn't who you know. Where did you fucking go? Turn the page, and never look away. You changed in every way. You left me here insane. Tell me, where did you go? I missed you so. You let substance control you. You let it burn you down. I tried so hard to warn you. Just listen to the sound of 100 hearts dying, all the people crying. Ooh, it's a fact that I'll never get you back. You become a slave and you dug your own grave. Come back to me and you will see there's much more to life than getting high. Turn the page, throw it all away. You changed in every way. You left me here insane. Tell me, where did you go? I miss you so. You let substance control you. You let it bring you down. I tried so hard to warn you. Just listen to the sound. You left me here insane. Tell me, where did you go? I miss you so. You let substance control you. Let it bring you down. I tried so hard to warn you. Just listen to the sound. To the sound.
All right, once again, that was Substance. It's a demo version of a song that's going to be on Will's forthcoming album or EP called Choices. That song he plays everything on, except for the vocals, and that's Kenny Dresden, like we mentioned earlier. And he plays everything on this EP that's coming up, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Another thing like we said
Oh,
earlier.
yeah, again. Yeah.
Were you playing 3 or 4 instruments when you were 17?
No, I barely play guitar.
Yeah.
I can barely play it now, but I still do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this song, it's a little teaser of what we're gonna get. So it sounds great. Sounds like we're in for some cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing this, full on studio recorded, because you can tell that guitar is gonna be heavy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so it's gonna be cool to hear this. And I think anyone that knew him from Framing the Red would be happy, because it's just good heavy rock and roll.
Yeah,
that's what that band is.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that for sure.
Yeah. And in this interview, we get into all kinds of stuff, what he's got coming in the future, his influences, past, and if you're listening to this because you're a Framing the Red fan, we get into that and how he came into the band. Some stories from when he was in the band, and of course why he left.
Yeah.
And if you follow Framing the Red, there was a little bit of drama and stuff, but like we said, this dude's got his head on his shoulders, and he's playing it straight, and he's kind of like Sweden in the whole thing,
Luxembourg.
Yeah. He's got, I know he's still cool with Jamie, who had some issues with Jordan, the singer, and you can tell he's still cool with Jordan and the rest of the band. So it's good,
Yeah. I mean, again, I just kind of floored. I wish I could have been a session player at a studio when I was 17.
Yeah, that's another thing.
That's what I think is super fucking cool. So
yeah, not just making his own music. He's for hire and making music for other people. And that's how you can't imagine that 20 years from now what this guy's gonna have done under his belt.
I know. It's impressive.
Yeah. Well, we recorded this over video chat, so it's not perfect audio, but it's pretty good. So check this out. Let's just get into it right now.
Yeah, man, I actually just got done finalizing some stuff with my girlfriend for some colleges for her. She's going to beauty school to be like a hairdresser and stuff. So while she's doing that, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go back to work, make some money so I can try to support, the baby that's coming up. But also going to get back into the music scene up here in Iowa, just because, this is where I'm from, and have so many more followers, particularly up here as opposed to anywhere else in the country.
What's the music scene in Iowa like?
It's pretty good, man. Like, a lot of people wouldn't believe like how involved it is, but I know for Framing the Red, this was definitely our strongest market as far as people coming out to shows go. On our insights on our Facebook page back when I was an admin on there, I did see that Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where I'm to be moving to, was for a while the most liked region.
So is that where you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up in like a small town called Urbana, Iowa. It's about 30 minutes from Cedar Rapids. Went to school in Center Point, and then our closest Walmart was Cedar Rapids. So if people ask where I'm from, I always just tell them Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Gotcha.
Well, what kind of music, as far as Cedar Rapids locally, is there all kinds of stuff like metal and everything, or is there anything that's strong there?
Yeah, there's a lot of metal bands, Rapids, but as most of the musicians that I know are like rock and roll, very similar to what Framing the Red did. Kind of more like I would like to consider like modern rock, very like 3 Days Grace, Breaking Benjamin type stuff. But there are definitely some metal bands. I just was never big into the metal scene here, just because I find that it doesn't do as successful as the modern rock because there aren't as many listeners.
Cool. So You're starting kind of a solo project, right?
Yeah, man, I actually just got done a few hours ago recording the drums for my album. It's going to be a 5-song EP. It's like very modern rock. I'm doing all the instrumentals on it: guitar, bass, drums, and I hired a singer, Kenny Dresden. He's a really cool kid. He's about 17 years old, so my age, from Keokuk, Iowa, about 2 hours south of here, right on the Missouri border. And we met him back when I was on the road with Frame in the Red, and he's just absolutely amazing, man. One of the greatest live performers and singers that I've ever met in my life. So I had to get him for my record.
Cool. Now, is it going to be under your name, or do you have like a band name you're going to put it under, or?
I'm gonna have it. I decided that instead of like coming up with a name for the project, since we'll probably never like tour it or play it live. It's gonna be more or less just a recording project and like an online sales / hard copy sales thing. So I'm definitely gonna call it like William Fish featuring Kenny Dresden.
Okay, cool. Like, so you said you were playing all the instruments. I mean, were you a drummer first, or did you pick any one of the others up first, or how'd that kind of happen?
I actually started on guitar, man. But I went from guitar to bass back when I was, I don't know, 10 maybe. I picked up a guitar. And I kind of set that aside whenever I found drums whenever I was 11, because I definitely found I was excelling in drums and definitely spent the most time behind a drum set. But I recently, within the past year and a half or two, have started getting really big on guitar again, because I missed being able to be diverse and play all the instruments as well as I can play drums. So I used to play piano and trumpet, trombone, all that, but it's been so long, man, that like I don't. If I got behind a piano, I'd just make myself look like an idiot.
Well, as far as drums go, like who's your influences? Like who's a couple of years like favorite guys that you always go to?
Definitely. He's no longer around anymore, but the original drummer from Avenged Sevenfold, Jimmy Sullivan, or the Rev, because man, he was so like talented. And a lot of people don't realize, man, but he wrote all those songs, man, and he would go play the rhythm guitar tracks, the bass tracks, the drum tracks, and then present them to the guys in Avenged Sevenfold and be like, hey, what do you think of this? And then they would go into the studio and record them themselves, obviously. But he's so talented and so diverse and such a great piano player. But as far as like I can't think of anyone that would even come close to how good he is. But I mean, other than him, I was big into Joey Jordison from Slipknot, being from Iowa and all that, and definitely Buddy Rich, because I started playing jazz, and I still play jazz. I'm actually getting ready to go in and session drum for a blues record here a week from now. So I'm still. To me, jazz is very important to have under my belt. So Buddy Rich was a big influence as well.
What was the first style of music you started playing as a drummer?
Jazz, for sure. I started learning jazz. Other than like the obvious AC/DC, classic rock, 4/4 time bass snare. But jazz definitely, because I found it so challenging, and I like a challenge. And then blues is challenging too, but I find that jazz swing is so much more, because you have to have flair, and you have to be able to accent, you have to be able to know different time signatures, and you have to know how to read music, for any instrument for jazz, but even drums. And a lot of musicians don't know how to read 5-line staff, but it was a big, important part for me, before I even got behind a drum set, to learn how to play the 5-line staff, learn how to recognize notes, and how to be able to read and write and compose music. So jazz was definitely, a big part of my life and a big part of my drumming career.
Did you grow up in a musical family? Were your parents into jazz or play music or anything?
Uh, Believe it or not, man, I'm pretty much the only one in my family, other than some of my cousins who aren't blood related, but they're related by marriage. I'm the only one who plays music. I grew up in a very athletic family, and I was big into sports, football, baseball, basketball, and all that stuff. But a few years ago, I guess a handful of years ago, I found out that I had a few different medical disorders and diseases and stuff that made it so I can't play football or basketball or baseball or any of that stuff. So to me, music was an outlet, and an outlet became a hobby, and a hobby became a career, and now it's my life.
Well, going back to the solo album, are you self-producing this, or is there someone in there in the studio producing this with you? Or
Yeah. Well, I'm recording it all myself. I went and I spent the money, and I got some help from some family on getting the right gear to do all this stuff. But I do work with Forte Studios, and that's in Boone, Iowa. But instead of going through them, I decided not to go through them just because I wanted to see if I could produce an album myself, because I've always been into producing and mixing and mastering and all that stuff since I was with Frame in the Red, because our producer taught me a lot. And I went and I got all the gear and stuff, and I'm doing the same stuff that the guys in the big music industry is doing, with the overlaying guitar, click track, obviously, different effects and all that. And the only thing that I complain about me doing my recording is I'm not getting the drum sound that I necessarily want from my acoustic drums, just due to the fact that I don't have $10,000 to go spend on mics and snakes and all that stuff. So I'm doing it with a few condenser mics, but it's not something that I'm afraid to put out to the public, because I would never put something out to the public that I wouldn't personally buy myself. So I do have a friend in Nashville who I am sending all my tracks to, who's mixing and mastering it all for me for free, and he's doing a really good job at that. And other than that, I'm doing everything else myself, man.
you said it's like a modern rock kind of sound. Is it? It's probably heavier than Framing the Road, though. Or?
Yeah, it's heavier than Frame of the Red. Like I said, it's a 5-song EP, and one of them is definitely like a soft ballad. But I've done everything, obviously, other than recording the vocals, because I'm not a singer myself. But I wrote the lyrics, I wrote the melodies, and all that. And a lot of the lyrics, man, like reflect either like that I've gone through in my life, or people who are close to me have gone through in their life, or things that have affected me in one way or another. So instead of like Framing the Red, which there's nothing wrong with, but doing a lot of songs about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, I'm kind of want to take a different route, and write about some things that are near and dear to me. So I have a ballad on there that's pretty soft, but for the most part, it's similar to Frame the Red. But if I had to describe a band that was very much like what I'm recording, it'd be probably like 3 Days Grace or Buck Cherry. I'm trying to write songs that my fans would want to buy, because me personally, I love heavy metal. I'll listen to heavy metal all the time, all day long. But some of my fans might not particularly like my style of music that I like to listen to. So I'm trying to appeal to my fans and write something that they would like to listen to. So
Yeah, I noticed your shirt. That's a little bit heavier than Buck Cherry.
yeah. I like heavy metal, man. I like death metal and all that. And, I just think it takes a lot of talent, but on the musician's end, especially to be able to play how fast you're doing, especially in studio, because I know how hard it is, being a studio drummer for like rock and roll. And I can't imagine going in there and doing gravity blasts and all that and being perfectly on time, because I I like to consider myself, fairly talented, but those guys, man, are just insane. Like, I don't even know what you have to do to be on that kind of level, but I want to be that good someday.
Is that something you think you'd be interested in, playing death metal down the line?
For sure, man. I actually plan on doing a heavier record. Probably not my next one, because I'll probably do another rock record. But once I save some money and get into save enough money to go to the Forte Studios in Boone, Iowa, that I was telling you about, I definitely want to do like a heavier metal, because I still write heavy metal songs and all that, and I'm into all the screaming and growling and all that stuff. And I took the time to learn how to do some of that stuff myself. And in my record that I'm coming out with now, my 5-song EP, there will be like some parts where I will be screaming a sentence or doing it here and there. But I'll definitely be interested in recording a lot of heavier stuff down the road.
Cool. Well, you mentioned session drumming a little bit ago. Like, talk about how you got into that. Do you enjoy that as much as you do playing your own stuff and everything?
Right. Well, I actually got the job at Forte Studios exclusively. So, I'm not bound by contract or anything, but I try not to do session drumming anywhere else, just due to the close relationship that I have with Forte. But I actually got that job when I was still with Framing the Red, to do on my off time, for some extra money here and there, and to get to know some more musicians in Iowa. But I went to Forte, and I sent him some emails back and forth, and I went and I toured the studio, and I was just blown away, man. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen so many different recording rooms and the recording equipment they have and everything. So, I told them, like, what do I have to do? What do you need? What can I help you with? So we worked out, a really nice agreement where I go and I promote for them and I recruit musicians, as well as session drumming and session guitar playing and session bass playing. But I will, say you go and you guys form a band and you want to record somewhere. You're not quite sure where you want to record. Well, you get a hold of me and I'll sort everything out for you, and I'll send it off to Forte, and you don't even have to contact them. I'll do it all for you, and I make a small percentage off of every musician that I get to send to Forte. And out of everyone that has gone there, I haven't heard anything bad about any of their reviews online, or any bad recordings from them. So it's definitely a blessing for me, for sure, to be able to work there, because that's by far the nicest studio in all of Iowa. At least that I've seen. So as long as I'm a musician, I will be working with Forte, because they're so superb and their recording quality is just great, man.
And you said or I saw on Facebook, I think, where you had mentioned you're training to be a sound engineer there as well.
Yeah, well, that was the plan. I was going to, on my off time, if I wasn't doing any session drumming or promoting, I was going to go and I was going to be a producer in training, and they were going to, give me all the books that I needed, and, be able to do sound engineering, just so they would have 2 sound engineers as well. But with all the things that have happened in my life, and with, my girlfriend being pregnant, and I moved back to Missouri for a little bit, and I'm moving back up here, but I'm still 2 hours away from the studio that I work at. I've kind of put that on hold, and I've kind of I've pursued my education as a sound engineer on my own, a lot of online, researching online and stuff. And ever since I quit Framing the Red, I've been really big into looking online to see how to get the best recording quality at home, especially. But I would like to go to school to be a sound engineer, and whenever I do decide to go to college, it would definitely be for sound engineering as well as music education. So,
Well, how old were you when you joined Framing the Red? Were you like 16? Or
Yeah, I was 16 when I joined Framing the Red.
How'd that come about? How did you get that gig?
Well, man, I was in a band with a fairly big musician here in Cedar Rapids. Name is Keegan Moore, or his stage name is Joe Yankee, and we did a lot of like psychedelic rock and like blues rock and stuff, and it was definitely different than Framing the Red. But we opened up for him a few times because they used to play at my guitar player's mom's bar in Newhall. So that's how we kind of got hooked up with them, and then they were in Dubuque, Iowa, I believe, and they played a show, and their previous drummer had went to jail for public intox and underage drinking, all that, whatever. I mean, I've only heard stories, but they just showed up to the next show and they didn't have a drummer, and they were gonna fly someone in, but he canceled, and they just came up to me and they're like, "Can you play cover songs?" Yeah, I can play cover songs. And they're like, "Okay, well, here's this CD. Go, here's the cover songs, and here's a CD of our originals. You're gonna play with us for a night." I'm like, okay, cool. So a night turned into 2 days, and 2 days turned into the whole weekend, and then a weekend turned into okay, I'll try it for a month, and then a month turned into a year and a half, and I mean, I just became so close with them, and so honored to be in their presence, just simply because of their age and their success level, trying to recruit me at my age. So that's kind of how that came about.
Well, like at the age of 16, that's kind of, living the rock and roll dream, touring for a year and a half. Like what was that like at your age? I mean, was it overwhelming at first, or?
Well, man, it was definitely overwhelming at first. And, I mean, I was nervous, and, I'd never even been in, I mean, I've been in bars playing and stuff before, but, I've never been to I was never in good venues that we did play, and my first venue I'll never forget, man, was in Muskogee, Oklahoma. And we showed up there, and I set up my drums, and I mean, I was just thrilled, man. I was taking pictures and everything, and they were like, "Oh, just another day," and all that, and playing in all those different venues and meeting all the people that I got to meet, and becoming friends with people in the bands like Drowning Pool and Saving Abel and Waylon, and all these bands, being able to say, "Hey, I have this person on Facebook. I can message him if I ever need anything. Whatever. I can go on their tour bus if I wanted to. That's definitely rock and roll teenager's dream, as well as any rock and roll adult. So, that was awesome to me, man. And I mean, I can't thank the guys in Framing the Red, which I was actually just talking to Jamie Welch, the original guitar player, not too long ago, and that's look, man, regardless of what has happened before and what's happened in the past and all the drama, I just want to say, thank you for the opportunity that you guys gave me, because it truly opened up so many doors for me, man. And now I look at it as I can use music not only as an outlet and a career, but I can use it to support my soon-to-be family. I can use it to pay my bills like I had been doing with Framing the Red, and that's all because of them. So that was, like I said, a really big honor to me to have them try to recruit me like that.
Were any of the bars ever giving you a hard time? I mean, I know I've heard that with bands. Sometimes it's hard to get a member in if they're underage.
Right. No, man, we never really had any problem at all, believe it or not. And, I mean, I guess, that's because I guess I didn't look my age and still don't look my age or whatever, but a lot of people didn't ask. And whenever, people did know, they know that I'm not in there to, get messed up or, try to hook up with anyone or try to cause any harm or anything. I'm out there to do a job. I was always really business oriented. I got a lot of that from some of the guys in Framing the Red, and from my dad especially. But I was out there to make a career for myself and make a future for myself, and become something. And a lot of the venues who did kind of become hesitant towards my age once they found out, they were they kept a close eye on me, but after a few times of playing there, they knew, I'm not here to drink and party and all that, or, get in trouble. I'm just here to, play music and have fun doing it.
Well, you mentioned Jamie, and I know he had a few unkind words to say after he left the band, but you seem to be a little bit more amicable as far as you leaving. So is everything good? Was it just you're leaving because of the baby and that kind of thing?
Right. Well, man, to be honest, I mean, the baby to me was, a deal breaker with me leaving because, I have no problem with people being in bands and being gone from their family and having a kid on the way. But me personally, I just don't want to do that because I want to be a part of, its life just as much as, my girlfriend does. And that's hard to do on the road.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There were some things, that I didn't necessarily like, I mean, obviously with Jamie quitting, it was weird, getting a new guitar player. I mean, it wasn't bad. He's a great guitar player, great guy, awesome to hang out with and all that. But, going from a big 40-foot tour bus to, a short bus, which is what they're in now, with all your gear in there without a trailer, that was kind of stressful on all of us. And, I didn't really want to be gone all the time doing that. But one of the biggest things for me, man, was the traveling, having to hop in my car, and I have a tiny car, little like Ford Focus, and hop in my car and go from either Iowa or Missouri all the way down to Mississippi just to go back on tour and hop back in a different vehicle and go be gone for, 2-3 months at a time, and then hop back in a vehicle and drive again. And, I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't fair, but it was definitely stressful on me getting less off time than everyone else. Because if we would stop and we would get 4 days off in Mississippi, that's not reasonable for me to go all the way back up to Missouri with my girlfriend where we had our apartment, or go all the way up to Iowa where I'm from. There were definitely a lot of different reasons why I did choose to leave. And, I mean, who knows if, obviously if it wasn't for the baby, but if we didn't have the baby and the band was located closer to where I'm from, then, I probably would have stayed in the band. But the extra traveling was just a lot for me, and a lot of personal expense and all that. And whenever we wouldn't make very much money one month or the other month, and then having to go and spend half of that money on traveling, either plane tickets or fuel or whatever, it's just, it kind of gets old, especially whenever you got bills to pay and stuff.
Yeah. Well, like we mentioned, you're on the road for like a year and a half for the most part, on and off. And I've seen, Framing the Reds tour schedule. It's pretty heavy. And I think I remember Jamie mentioning that they learned that from Wayland, getting out there and hitting places all the time. Did you have any awesome memories of some really good gigs, or any on the opposite end, really anything that went really bad?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, first I want to talk about, the heavy tour schedule, and that was, one of the reasons why, Jamie did leave, was because we approached him with an alternate tour schedule, saying, hey man, what do you think about being gone, 3 weeks and then being home a week? And, he wasn't necessarily down for that. And, that's kind of what fueled the whole, him leaving, amongst many other things. But, I do agree that you need to hit the road, especially with a record coming out. You need to hit the road and just go, go, go. But like I said, being gone all the time for me was, hard, being away from my family, especially like so young and all that. But as far as the shows go, man, I've had so many good shows. It's hard to keep track of all the fun memories and all that. But, I don't know if you guys know this, but we had a really good friend of mine who's still in the band, the road guy, who was the merch guy, the tech. He checked drums, guitars, bass, everything. He did pretty much anything we told him to. And his name is T-Joe. And me and him were really close because, he was my age, a year older than me. and we always, we would go and being the same age and, not being able to do certain things, not being able to go with other guys, if they went to a different club to go hang out or whatever, we would go and we would go make our own fun. So, we would always hang out. But as far as shows go, man, like Rocklahoma was a huge one for me because that was the most people I've ever played to single-handedly in my life. Like at that moment, there was 1,000 people for sure, and that was just exhilarating to me. And there's musicians always say that there's no feeling like the high you get from being on stage and 2,000 people, 10,000, a million people, whatever, screaming your band name or even your own name individually. But Rocklahoma was big for me, and Sturgis was too. Even though we played on a smaller stage at Sturgis, but it was still a blast. And we got to see John Fogerty, we got to see Leonard Skinner, Shinedown, all those people. And, we got to, have like all access to a lot of the stuff. So, that was a blast. But we played a lot of bike rallies, for bikers and stuff. So Somerville Bike Rally, which our buddies in Wayland are actually at this weekend. That was always fun for me because we made some good friends and some good fans there who supported us like no one else did. But as far as, crappy shows go, I don't think a week would go by without us hitting a place that was just absolutely dead. That we would be like, if it was a new venue, we would be like, oh man, we're never coming back here.
Well, as far as the Framing the Red album that's supposed to come out, did you play all the drums on that?
Yeah, I played all the drums except for two songs, American Made, which is the first one recorded, and Whiskey and Weed, which was the second one recorded. The drummer that I replaced, the female, she played on Whiskey and Weed, but American Made, the original drummer played on Cody Leak. And we did retrack the drums on those just because they went to a different producer from Drowning Pool, the guitar player from Drowning Pool. They went to him to record that song, and I guess they weren't very happy with how the drums turned out, so they wanted, the drums to match the rest of the record. So we retracked the drums. That's nothing against the original drummer. It's not that we didn't think that his drums were good enough or anything. It was just simply we had a better quality of recording at our producer. So he just wasn't in the band at the time, so I was, and I retracked the drums. But so 8 out of the 9 songs, or 9 out of the 10. I don't know if they recorded anymore, but I did play on.
What kind of drums do you play? Don't you have some endorsements going on?
Yeah, man, I got endorsed with Pork Pie Percussion, and
Nice.
Yeah, I love them, man. Love them, and they're really good about staying in contact with me and stuff. And I tell them what I want, and I got it. And they give me pretty sick discounts. And I'm not gonna lie, I have family help me, and all my drum set that I have now, my green acrylic one, was purchased with discount by my family, so thank you to them for that. But I do have another one coming on the way, which is just a 4-piece, kick, 2 toms, and a snare. That's actually a maple kit. That's the finish is just ground up cymbals with a clear coat finish over top of it. And I saw they came out with that finish, and I told them the sizes that I wanted, and they started working on it right away, and it should be here within 30, 45 days probably.
Cool.
I noticed, I think on the post where you said you're moving back to Iowa, you also said you're going to start a band. Is that separate from your solo project?
Yeah, that is separate from the solo project. It's with different musicians.
Okay. And is that something you have the style of music in mind and everything, or?
Yeah, man. The musician that I'm right now it's one musician, and we're silently trying to recruit other musicians into it. But it's the guy plays guitar and he sings, and he's really, really, really good. I'm not gonna say too much, but he's really big in Cedar Rapids, and he did go around for the longest time playing acoustic guitar, 12 string, and singing by himself. So, he hit me up one time, and my dad did a lot of booking for him through his entertainment company, 319 Entertainment, based out of Cedar Rapids, and we did some booking / light shows and stuff through 319 Entertainment. So he opened up for friends, and I really liked his stuff, so I got a hold of his album, and I went ahead and I just overlaid, like for fun, I just overlaid a drum track over one of his songs, and he just loved it, man. And as soon as I quit Framing the Red, it popped in my head. I'm like, God, I got to hit this guy up. And he was totally down. And, we'll be starting a full electric, live show, lights, smoke machines, all that stuff. We'll be utilizing my dad's entertainment company for sure for, the entertainment factor. But, we're going to be doing a lot of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Waterloo, Iowa, and not very much outside of Iowa unless it's like big shows, because he's kind of on the same page that I am with having a kid and not wanting to be gone, and he's got a pretty good paying job, but he loves music just as much as the next guy, so he's definitely a good guy to be starting a band with.
Well, like you got the Black Dahlia Murder shirt on. Like, what's some other heavy bands you're into, or just anything in general besides what we've mentioned already?
Right. Well, man, I really like right now. Like, I'm on a big like Korn kick, and I know that's not as heavy as the Black Dahlia Murder, but Of Mice and Men. A lot of like the modern day like Warped Tour bands I'm into. As far as like female singers, like New Year's Day, I'm really big into them, and a bunch of bands, man. Like I said, like pretty much the whole like Warped Tour style bands I'm into. But definitely on the more like, I guess, popular side, Korn and Slipknot for sure, being from Iowa, and a lot of bands like that.
You into anything else outside of that, like that would shock people, like Celine Dion or something?
Oh no, for nothing like that, man. As a drummer, I kind of get offended by some of the pop and stuff. Believe it or not, I'll listen to rap, and I like Kevin Gates and Hobson and stuff, but that's not something that I would just put on and listen to at the house. That's just not something that I guess I'm very much into. But if I get in somebody's car and they're playing it, I'll get into it and I'll listen to it. So
I think that wraps it up, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you guys. It was fun.
There you go. William Fish, formerly of Framing the Red, currently of Solo Extraordinaire. Yeah, he's got this album, like he mentioned in the interview we mentioned earlier, an EP coming out called Choices, so be on the lookout for that.
That's right.
Hit him up on Facebook. He's got a band page called William Fish of Framing the Red, and find him on there, hit him up, be his friend as well. He's like I said, he's got tons of stuff going on. You can hire him to be session work, and just a great guy, and we appreciate him taking the time to talk to us.
Definitely, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and I think Jamie Welch, kind of helped facilitate that and hit us up, and connected him with us, because we've done a couple interviews with Jamie. So if you're a Framing the Red fan, go back and check those out if you haven't. There's 2 of them up there. Some pretty interesting stuff in those, and he's always got some good stuff to say, whether it's about Framing the Red or just music in general. So
yeah,
happy to bring this stuff to you. And while you're checking those out, check out everything else. We're online at thethunderunderground.com. All the podcasts are on soundcloud.com/thunder-underground. We just recently had one with Shooter Jennings, which was kind of out of the box for our normal stuff, but it went great. We talked about a lot of a lot of hard rock stuff.
Yeah,
in there as well.
I ended up talking about AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Marilyn Manson. So
Yeah.
gotta love it.
Yeah. And we've had stuff, with, like we were talking about Lynch Mob earlier, we've had 80s rock guys like Warrant in Europe, and we've had heavy stuff like Crowbar and Battlecross and Insight and Overkill. And we've even had, guys from Sons of Texas and Caroline Spine,
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
Yep.
Yep.
And speaking of Battlecross, our next episode will be Kyle Gunther from Battlecross again.
Hell
He's
yes.
coming back for a second time. Got more stuff to say.
Yeah. That one's a good one. Be on the lookout for that one.
Yeah, very happy to bring that to you. And Facebook.com/The Thunder Underground. YouTube is The Thunder Underground. Instagram is at The Thunder Underground. Periscope is at Thunder Underground. Twitter is THNDRUNDR Ground. And once again, our website is thethunderunderground.com.
What's our MySpace?
It is / Hold on, I thought I could have something funny.
Oh.
Backspace, step into 2009. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm the funny one. Just leave that to me. That's why I asked that question.
There you go. The comic relief. Yeah, like we said, coming up this week, actually, we've got interview with Kyle Gunther from Battlecross, and then, shall we announce next week?
Why not?
We got Ian Moore.
Hell yes.
And if you don't know Ian Moore, just go Google him and just hit play.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say that again on the next episode, but it doesn't matter where you start, whether it's from 1993 or the most recent thing from a couple months ago that's on SoundCloud. The guy's phenomenal.
Yep.
And, plays all kinds of music and amazing, fanboying out here for a minute, but it was really cool, that we've been fans of him since 93. So it was a real honor to be able to talk to him and his band, the Lossy Coils. So
yeah.
We're going to bring that to you in about a week or so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, that's a good one. So.
Yep. All right. Well, does that wrap it up on 59?
I think so. We're done.
All right. Hopefully on 60 my voice is better.
It better be.
Yeah, or else you're taking over.
I might have to.
Yeah.
This is getting crazy, Trent.
Yeah, the Battlecross episode could be all Jason, so be on the lookout for that. All right, until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.